She's a strong woman
Yeah.
with blonde hair.
Yeah.
Heather McMahan is with me. Welcome to my Just Jenny podcast. When I get really, really, really jazzed about a guest, I often forget to even say what I'm doing here. And you're that guest because you are, and I hope everybody hears my printer in the background because that's
Yeah.
the level of professional that we have here today, Heather. But I know that you're having what they, who the fuck they is, I don't know, is
Uh-huh.
calling a moment.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
thank you, Heather McMahan, in this moment for being on my podcast because I know how busy you are.
Oh, well, listen, I am so appreciative. And I've been following you forever. I'm a big fan. I think you're doing the Lord's work. You're out there just slaying. I mean, so
Oh
I
boy.
I know it's an honor to say that I'm having a moment. It's very sweet. I mean, it's wild. It's kind of like when you're in this business, you work
Yeah.
for so long, and then I got like a little bit of a pop. Like things really started to take off for me in 2019. And then
Yeah.
this weird thing, the pandemic hit, and it was weird. It was like a time where I don't know, my followers kind of festered in a good way. Like I found even more people, and now I'm
Yeah.
just back on the road. But excuse me, I feel like in comedy, you only feel as good as your last thing, right? So you're in a constant state of just like, I'm now, even though like I had figured out Instagram and that's where I was crushing, now I got to fight with these kids on TikTok. It's like you
Yeah.
think you master one thing. And I was like, oh, this is it. Social media is my jam. And now it's a whole nother world. So I even feel like I'm not on the pulse of anything. I feel like I'm behind. And you
Oh
kind of,
God, no.
no, you do. You kind of get in this like weird self-loathing state where you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I don't know. The whole algorithm, all of it's changed so much. So I'm just trying to like keep my head above
Yeah.
water.
I mean, I'm always in the self-loathing
Yeah.
state. So it's like never, it doesn't end for me. And I look at your feed and your Instagram and how beloved you are, and not just sort of like the follower count, but it's the way people love you. And yeah, I mean, the follower count is big. It's a big deal that you have that many followers, but I totally get it because you have this, like, on the one hand, you have this very body sense of humor, which
Mhm.
is hilarious because you're comic, whatever. But then on the other hand, you're incredibly soft and regular and normal. And I think those two sides are so relatable of you. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Yeah, that's very sweet to say. I mean, most people come up to me, they don't even introduce themselves, right? Because they're like, oh, I've known you for years. They're like,
you're
you're my
already their
girlfriend.
friend. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're always just like, but it's funny. I always tell girls, I'm like, hey, introduce yourself, because then I went to the University of Mississippi. So I was in a sorority with like 600 girls. I was like, I don't know if you're one of my sorority sisters that like got some bad plastic surgery. Like, I don't know if you got like a
Oh,
face
no.
transformation. They're like,
Right.
hey girl, it's Katie. And I'm like, Katie from Mississippi? Or like,
Yeah.
no, we've never met. But I find that so endearing because it's just like that everybody's like, oh, you're my go-to. And what I think a lot of specifically women say is like, you say all the things we're thinking, but say it in like a very joyful, also sarcastic way.
Yeah, yeah. And also the thick neck, thin ankles. Like I have said my whole life, like my greatest body parts are my wrist and my ankles. Like that's
Oh,
it.
yes.
Like I've got beautifully dainty wrists and lovely ankles, and the
Right.
rest of me is fully questionable. But the wrists and the ankles, a lot of three-quarter sleeves and a lot of they just hit the top of my ankle pants and I'm good, or dresses.
Yeah,
It's
I
like we're
feel
one and the
you.
same.
I
Yeah.
I always like I everybody always compared me to like my late father. Like I look exactly like him, to the point where it was just like people would stop, grown men would stop me in the street and be like, "Are you Kyle's daughter? You spitting
Mm,
image." And my dad
mm.
had like the sharpest legs, like just not I don't have a dimple on my ass. It's just strong legs down, but the middle, I'm such an upside down triangle. Like
Yeah.
trying to fit my ass into a blazer is the most comical thing you have ever seen in your life. It's like Chris
Yeah.
Farley, fat guy in a little coat. Like that is me. But then I'll wear like a short skirt and show off the gams any day of the week.
Gorgeous gown. You have gorgeous legs, but at least you're not Grimace shaped. Like I'm shaped like Grimace. Like I am the like very narrow on the top, and then
Yeah.
things get progressively worse until the ankle, which is petite. But
Petite.
so it's
Yes.
it's a total shit show. But you do have those legs, and I don't want to objectify you while I objectify you, Heather.
I need the objectification, so I'll
Yeah.
take
Every
it.
so often it's kind of nice. Your
Yeah.
dad passed away from the pan can. I
Yeah.
know it well. My mother
Yeah.
passed away from the pan can. I think once you've experienced that, you're changed. At least I am. How are you handling sort of having lost him to that? And then you're 20 years younger than he was when he passed away. How do you deal with
Yeah.
that?
I was thinking of you because when everything went down, because I know it's fresh for you, I was just thinking so
Well,
much.
my dad is fresh. My
Right,
mother's 15 years, but my mother had
right.
pancreas, my dad had esophagus. So fun.
Right, which
So
is also
fun.
such bullshit, right?
I
It's
know.
just like, what do you do? I don't know. Listen, almost 8 years down the road, which is the weirdest thing to say. I think the hardest part with grief is like some days I forget that my dad died because,
Hmm.
you go through these stages of grief where you're like, all right, today I want to feel good. I want to go
Hmm.
out. I want to just be joyful and do the thing. And then I took an edible when I was on vacation a week ago and I'm sitting by a fire, high as a kite. And I look at my husband, I go, I just remembered my dad died. And he was like, okay,
Oh,
you're going to the dark side. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Come back.
Come back. But you have to laugh at it in a way, in a sense that, to answer your question, it totally changed me as a person because I had
Yeah.
never gone through such a loss like that,
Sure.
And then once you go through a loss like that, I feel like you're a different person and you
Yeah.
look at the world differently. And my point of
Yeah.
view and my perspective just totally changed. And I
Yeah.
said, I look at this is going to sound really intense, but now when things are good, they're so much better. Like when you
Hmm.
have such extreme emotions, when you've felt such loss, the good shit feels so good at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you're like, now you just have this full spectrum of emotion, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I try and look at it glass half full in that moment. But what's really kills me is that my dad never got to see me successful. And
Mm.
that's what kills me. Like I'm doing this, iconic big show at Radio City in June. And I'm like, those are the moments where I'm like, I wish my dad was here, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even mention that you have this show coming up and you're a podcaster and you're a comedian and you're an actor. And, but the thing about your dad, and as someone who has kids who are big, your dad knew. Like I look
Yeah.
at my 24-year-old and my almost 23-year-old, and I know what their destinies are in a sense.
Right.
Obviously, I don't, I'm not God, I'm not any of those things, but it wouldn't surprise me if they would achieve whatever is the thing that I think that they're going to achieve. Your dad knew.
Right. Right.
So even though he's not here, I fully believe that you were formed. I mean, look at who you are, right? Like
You're so sweet.
that personality did
Yeah.
not get cultivated 8 years ago. Like you were you in
Yeah.
your late 20s. Like you were not someone else. So
It
he
was
knew.
it was funny because my dad would always call me when I was living in LA. And I realized that people parent out of fear, right? You just don't want your kids to ever get hurt, or
Oh, yeah.
you're always trying
It's
to
the
protect them.
worst. Oh,
And
yeah. It sucks.
when I was grinding and not making $2, I didn't have two pennies to rub together in comedy. My dad would always call me in LA and he'd be like, when do you want to get into real estate? I think you'd be a killer. He's like, you could sell condos like hotcakes. So that was
Yeah.
always our joke. I was like,
Sure.
and now I'm buying property with the money I made from comedy. So I'm like, it's full circle. So I kind of look up to the stars some days and I'm like, Dad, I'm doing real estate.
And you are doing real estate. There's all different ways to get that. And so
Yes.
you are investing
Yeah.
in the property. He taught you well.
Yes.
But not, I
Yeah.
think he knew. But I guess for you, I looked at you and I'm like, I know you've gone through fertility stuff
Yeah.
and I do the surrogate thing if you can. Like that's a great idea because
Yeah.
I mean, do the surrogate thing if you can. Like, why
My mom,
not?
my mom's
Uh,
like, if that's an option,
yeah, do it. Yeah.
she's like, this is insane. These women that like love to be pregnant. She's like, that's
Yeah.
not going to be your journey. You have a
Mm-mm.
long torso, but I know you have acid reflux every day of your life. She's like, Heather, I don't see you being the glowing pregnant woman.
It's not fun. Pregnancy, listen, I
Yeah.
only liked, because I'm a weird control freak and a nervous wreck. I
Uh-huh.
enjoyed knowing the baby was safely in my belly, but I was always afraid with the baby safely in my belly anyway. Like I was never feeling secure because I was scared
Right.
something would happen, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. But beyond that, yeah, I mean, your body's not ever the same. That's true. It's
Yeah.
just not. And also, I feel like with you, I don't know, you lost your dad. He was young. 57 is too young. Like I
Yeah.
cried like a baby. My mother was 65. My father was 82. Like none of that feels okay to me, but 57, like I
Yeah.
feel like for you, there's an added layer. I mean, that you have to now watch yourself too, almost in a
Um,
different way.
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting? It changed my relationships with some of my girlfriends who did not, who couldn't fix their shit with their parents. And I know that I have
Mm.
to be patient because everybody has their own shit. But I would sit
Hmm.
around, not too shortly after my dad died. And I don't think people really pick up. Again, and it's if you've been through it, you have a totally different change point of view perspective. I'm like, life is short, figure your shit out. If you're
Of
upset with
course.
somebody, call them, nip it
That's
in the
right.
bud. I don't harbor on things. Like I just
Correct.
and I'd have some friends that were like, had these really bad relationships with their fathers. And I'm like, send them an email. If anything, write them a letter and be like, you're the worst. I hate you because of this. And either you get a response or you don't, but you can like put it to bed. I was like, because to me, you always regret the things you didn't do, not the things you did do. And I
Right.
couldn't imagine. I mean, I'm grateful I had a great relationship with my dad, but I want to shake some of these people and be like, make the phone call, be the bigger
Of
person,
course.
you
Of
know?
course. But you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, that is completely insight. I mean, that's insight and
Yeah.
also true. You're like, don't sweat the small stuff. I know colloquialism and trite and ridiculous, but like
Yeah.
actually true when you have a
Yeah.
dead parent or two dead
Yeah.
parents. Like that's good advice you gave your friends. But how are you managing? Like, do you fear the pan can? Because like I live my life in fear of it.
So here's my thing. I was told by my doctor that it's one of the cancers that's not necessarily hereditary. Is that correct? I
Okay.
may have been misinformed.
So you're living in Atlanta?
Yeah,
Do they have doctors there?
they do.
Okay, just checking. I don't know. I know Emory's there and I think they have a medical school, but like whatever.
So was I
Um,
completely misinformed?
yeah, so I think you
Yeah.
have to do genetic testing.
Okay.
So if you haven't done that, what I'm told is that you start testing 10 years prior to the parent's diagnosis. So you
Oh,
have time. So you
okay.
have another 10 years or 11 years, whatever. I'm bad at math,
Mhm.
so I'm not going to get it right. But doing genetic testing is just good because then you rule out if there is a genetic component. Because
Okay.
it's not most of the cases are not genetic when it comes to pancreatic cancer, but
Yeah.
some are. Mine is not. My mother's was not genetic, but I do get tested once or twice a year because I'm a crazy person with a lot of issues. But I prefer that. I prefer
See,
the testing.
I'm kind of like ignorance is bliss. And I'll tell you why.
Okay, that's
I
fair.
should get the testing regardless, especially if I'm going to bring kids into this world.
I
It's like,
like you, so I
yeah.
want you to be followed because I like you and I don't want you to have any weird diagnoses
Yeah.
that can be avoided. So yeah.
My thing is, it's like, my dad, when he got diagnosed into the day, like from the day of diagnosis to the day of death, it was 7 days. It was 1 week.
Right.
And I was like,
Oh my God.
I know, but Jenny, that's how I'm like, that is the way to go. That is the way to go.
But not
Like,
at 57. I disagree.
I
Not at
know.
fucking 57.
Yeah.
No, no.
But also then like I have so many friends now that have also gone through pancreatic cancer. And like pancreatic cancer is one of those you find it in literally the 12th hour. And
Yes.
usually it's a horrible end of
But it's
life.
not if the people who live, it's
Uh-huh.
found either incidentally when they've gone in for testing of something else,
Right.
like an incidentalloma, which turns out to be a big fucking deal,
Yeah.
or they are detected so early because they go through the detection processes, which are like an MRI or an endoscopic ultrasound. Like none of it's
Yeah.
a big deal. And they just test every year because they're usually slow growing until they take over your whole body. So the answer is get yourself a baseline.
Okay.
All you have to do is go to a GI doctor. Go to a
Okay.
GI doctor because again, you said you have doctors there
Yes. We
in
got doctors.
Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
So you get yourself right into just you have a parent who he was young, 57
Yeah.
is young. So you go
Yeah.
and you just do base and testing. I'm doing this as or a
Yeah.
drug addict
Yeah.
smacking. By the way, I've never been any sort of intravenous drug user ever, or any drug user. I'm pretty much, born sober. But you just have to get a blood test, and that's how
Okay.
they do the DNA testing.
Well, then I'll do it. Fine. You've
Yeah, I'm gonna
inspired me to
email
do
it.
it.
I will
Email.
DM you the whole. I'm gonna DM you like the company you can. I have nothing to do with these companies, but there's a company that I was told I did genetic testing years ago called like MyRisk or something, and that's what I'm gonna send you the info, and then you're gonna
Thank you.
do that with your primary care physician. Start there.
You'll love this. I love how like passionate you are about this because I was doing a charity event in Atlanta. I was emceeing and hosting it a couple months ago.
Mhm.
CNN's finest, Dr. Sanjay Gupta was there.
I love him.
He comes up to me afterwards. He's like, big fan, really enjoyed this. And my friend was with me and she was like, Dr. Gupta, you need to tell Heather she needs to quit going to just urgent care. And he's like, wait, what do you mean? He's like, you don't have a primary care physician? I was like, I
Stop.
don't have time. I was like, I'm on the road all the time. If I get a tickle in my throat, I got to just go into like urgent care in Cleveland,
Stop.
Ohio.
Stop it.
He was so mad at me. He was like, here's my personal email. I will find you doctors. Like,
Please.
when you're touring and on the road,
Yeah.
I'm literally home for maybe like a 12-hour, 24-hour window. And he was
But
like,
did you do that? Did you call him? Did you do it? Did you
yeah, we're on
text
it.
him?
We're on it.
Please, no,
he
you
was upset.
need a primary care doc. You must. By the way, guys, go to heatherontour.com. Heatherontour.com. I want to come to Radio City Music Hall on June 17th, but I want to meet and greet.
Yeah, of course.
I
I'm
need
throwing an
the
after party afterwards anyway. So you
Oh,
come,
I'm in. I'm
come
absolutely,
in.
I'm going to bring
Yeah.
my husband because I know
Yeah.
you're also married.
Yeah.
And I am forcing us out of the house as of late because
Yeah.
we've gotten too comfortable at home and it's like
Right.
a little bit weird. Like we gotta get out the house and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, so you guys go to heatherontour.com to see Heather everywhere because she's touring North America and you need to. You're just so funny. What did it feel like when you opened the Netflix special with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin that they
Yeah.
gear everyone up? They're the fucking fluffer. And
Yeah.
then
It was insane. It was so
you're number
wild.
one. Yeah.
Also, I was a rookie. Well, I was, here's the thing. I'm going to take you behind the scenes of what it's like
Please.
to do comedy. So I
Yeah.
was not supposed to open it up. I wasn't supposed to be number one, but because I was the rookie, the other gals were like, no, 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 we're not going first. So I said, fine, I'll go first. I don't care. And I just popped out there and Jane was so cool. She was like, I love you. You've got spunk and gumption. So that's how Jane
You
and I
killed
are,
it.
Jane and I are backstage kikiing and Lily and like we're having a great time. And they're like, you're young, you're hungry. We see it in you. And I was like, all right, that it helps because I'm still like hustling and still in the side of the business where I'm like, put me in, coach, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? I haven't
Yeah.
just become totally bitter yet. I mean, I'll be a huge diva in like 10 years. Check
It's
back
okay.
then.
I don't think
Throwing
you
cell
will.
phones at
Yeah.
assistants,
Yeah. I don't think you will. And here's why. Your
Why?
wedding, we got connected on Instagram. I love how this conversation is in every direction. It's fine.
Yes, I love it.
I drank coffee. We connected on Instagram after I was using the DB method, and
Uh-huh.
you DM me or somebody DM me and was like, Heather McMahan wants to know if she needs the DB method. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I'll tell her. It's good. And then that was, which is so random, but so Instagram that
Yes,
like
so
there's no
Instagram.
hello. It's just, do
Here's a
you use the
suggestion on
butt
your life.
machine?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You will like your thighs. It's
Yeah,
so weird.
yeah.
But then I saw you get married with my friend Jamie Greenberg, Jamie Makeup.
The best.
Okay, wait. So I was like, wait, she's at this you're a fancy wedding in Italy.
Yeah.
Jamie's there, who refers to you as the greatest human of all time. Like that was her quote. I was like, any tea you want to give me about Heather before I talk to her? She's like, she is the greatest human of all time, period. The end. That's it. So I don't think you're ever going to become a cunt.
You know what?
Yeah.
I was told one time by a casting agent, they were like, I was coming in to read the role of like a mean girl. And he was like, you got big boobs and a raspy voice and blonde hair. So you would seem that you'd be a mean girl. He's like, I don't think you can be a bitch. I was like, I'm one of those people. I'm so cool, like cool, calm, and collected. And then every like 9 months, I'll snap on a Tuesday and like,
Mhm.
you're like, she's gonna stab me. But that's it. It lasts 2 seconds, and then I'm like, all right, guys, I'm good. Give me a cookie.
Yeah, you're like beef, but only every 9 months
Yeah.
it happens.
Listen,
Yeah.
I owe a lot to Jamie. She's so sweet. She found me on the early days of Instagram, and Jamie has been one of those people. I mean, for people who don't know her, she's an incredible celebrity makeup artist. She's just dialed into the
Yeah.
community. And
Yeah.
Jamie is one of those women in the business who always said, if she knew somebody, she's like, no, you got to talk to them. You got to,
She's the best.
she's the best. She just
She
gets
is.
it. And
She's a
like,
great girl.
we connected that we both lost a parent. And I think,
Yeah.
again, it's this club. When you're in the dead parent club, you just kind of
Oh,
think of each other and you're like,
yep.
oh, fuck, Father's Day is coming up. Are you going to be
Oh,
drinking
it's the
alone?
worst.
It's the
Yeah.
worst, you know?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think it takes really good women in the industry to like help each other out. It's so
Yeah.
important.
It is so important. And the thing, like this morning, somebody I had interviewed, do you know Not Skinny But Not Fat, Amanda?
Yes. Yeah.
So I interviewed her and I followed her on Instagram and she said she was gonna follow me back. I was like, you gonna follow me back? And then she did. And I was like, you know what? That's classy.
Mhm.
Like that was nice. Like when
Yeah.
people, I don't know, I don't think there are enough kind of the girls in this
Yeah.
business. And I never understand it. Like I'm a little old lady at 53 years old. Like I want to help everybody I can.
Yeah.
And it's really nice if somebody wants to help me because I'm not where I want to be at because whoever is anyway. And
Right.
I never understand that like super competitive thing that makes women think that like if you achieve something that someone else can't, how does that?
I'll tell you where I think it comes from though, especially in comedy. Like women did not all, if you were doing a comedy lineup, hell, 5 years ago, there's only
Yeah.
room for one chick, to
Okay.
get up and get 5 minutes. So I
Okay.
understand where that hunger comes from in like the comedy space. But yeah, it does get just exhausting sometimes. You're like, guys, can we not just help each other out? But it's
Yeah.
funny too, and that's great on Amanda to like actually like keep her word and following and stuff like that.
Right. Just like keep
Because
your word.
I've done so many press and I've had like, other publicists reach out to me and that's why I like don't interview celebrities anymore. They're always like, oh, this celebrity wants to come on your podcast. And then, they don't even follow you or you see them out in public and you're just like, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Or
Like, what are we doing here?
they won't share the episode.
Mm,
By the way,
yeah.
your podcast, Absolutely Not, is so
Yeah.
good. And
Oh, so sweet.
no, there's so many things we have to talk about
Yeah.
which I'll get, because I can't, like the frozen yogurt stuff you talk about. Like for me, that's the overnight oats, like the fudge brownie chocolate overnight oats. I'm like, just have a fucking brownie
Yeah.
and don't call it like oats. Like it's just a strange thing. But I agree with you. Like if you have someone on your podcast, like it's sort of an unwritten rule, like you share the podcast. You just share it. It doesn't mean you have to be their best friend, but like you
Yeah.
certainly promote the episode that you did on their podcast,
Also,
right?
it's more, at the end of the day, it's just more ears, eyes, and bodies that are watching your stuff. So why would you not
Yeah.
cross promote? Listen, I could get into this all day long. You know what I mean? I'm still one of those people who's like, I'm doing press and stuff for the Radio City show and the tour and the other upcoming stuff that eventually, hopefully we'll get
Good grief. Good grief
Yeah.
is going to happen, right? I want to talk about that too, but go on. Yeah.
Who the hell knows? But it's so
Okay.
interesting where it's like, you meet some of these people now that have been in the industry for so long, 90% of everybody is great. And then you get like two cunts and you're just like,
Right.
why are you in this business? And how did you make it this far?
And why is it so debilitating on our psyche? Like, why do I
Yeah.
get so bent out of shape when somebody doesn't follow back or doesn't, when you're kind of in the same space? I get
Right.
it. There are people that have way more success than me. Fine. I'm not like, it's just a weird common courtesy thing almost within
Yeah.
a certain circle. And when they don't, it just feels like, it just makes you feel shitty, especially if they said they would. Like there were two
Yeah.
times that happened where the person wouldn't share the episode and wouldn't like do it. And I was just like, this just doesn't feel good. Why does it cut us to our core?
It's again, it goes back to just like, you don't get picked for the soccer team kind of vibe. I don't know.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's just bad business. And I'll tell you one thing. The reason why I'll be successful in comedy and real estate is that at the end of the day, like everything we do is sales. And I'm like,
You're so good.
but you know what I mean? It's like, why be an asshole if you don't have to? I don't have beef with anybody that I know of. I'm sure somebody
Right.
can't stand
Well,
me,
you
but I'm
do
like,
have beef with your husband in golf. I
Yes,
mean,
I
let's
do.
be honest. Yeah.
yes. And the new tour is so much about like our honeymoon and the wedding and then being married and absorbing these new things. And like my
Mhm.
husband's addiction to golf. And just like once you get married, people don't tell you, they're like, it's such a come down. I say there's like a wedding depression, right? You have this big party, everyone's celebrating you. You never look better. People are constantly telling you, oh my God, you're glowing. And then you'd go on this honeymoon. And I went on a honeymoon for 30 days. It was 29 days too long in Europe. And then you come home and you just sit at the breakfast table. And even though you love this person, you're like, it's such a letdown. You're like, now I'm just in a real world depression of like, this is it. The parties are over. You know what I mean?
And you're together how many years?
12 years. So it's not like this is, we were 2 years in and then the sparkles worn off. I still adore him. But there are days where I'm like,
course.
I didn't realize you ate oatmeal. You know what I mean? You're like, since when did you start, gumming that oatmeal to death? It's just the nuances of day-to-day life with a straight man are
Yeah.
insane. And
Oh
I
yeah,
agree.
it's
Yes.
true. You were talking, I guess, was maybe to Christina P
Mhm.
about the differences with the multitasking and the men and the women, and it's so true. I mean, I'm with my husband 27 years, and yeah, it's like I do 7,500 things at once, and he can do exactly one thing at once.
Men get dialed in. They
Yeah.
get so dialed in. Like Jeff was, opening our pool for the season or whatever. So he's out there pressure washing. Next thing you know, he's like cutting limbs off a tree that don't need to be cut. And
That's
I'm like,
right.
he can only focus on the outside for the next 4 hours. Like
So
if somebody
good.
called him and said the house, or
Yeah.
your car's been stolen, he's like, I can't right now. I just got to pressure wash. Where
Yeah.
I'm running 3 businesses, ordering food, picking up the
Mhm.
dog from daycare, figuring out
Mhm.
if I'm going to freeze my eggs in a week, like that kind of shit,
Yeah, but gotta love them. I
Gotta
mean,
love
I
'em.
just, yeah, and my husband's like my arm. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that, and I hate him like everyone hates their husband. It's
Yeah.
normal. I'm not Pollyanna about it, but,
Yeah.
and I hope we're together forever, but it's, and yeah, but it is funny how it is true in a cisgender, like, I don't even know the vocabulary anymore. In a
Yeah.
heterosexual cisgender marriage situation, like
Listen,
that.
I'm married to a Goomba. I'm married to an Italian, like New York
Awesome.
Italian. That
Yeah.
is what it is, where he's just like sports, boobs, and pizza. And I respect
Amazing.
him, and that's why I married him for that. But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, so I'm talking so much. Like I really, from the first tour to this tour, I'm really just like ripping the bandit. I'm saying what I want to say because I felt like the
Good.
first tour was a real introduction to like who I was, where I came from. Obviously, I had a lot of dark humor about my dad passing and like to catch people up to speed to where I was in my life. And now
Yes.
I'm just like, male comedians for the longest time have been like, women be shopping, or my wife does this. And it's funny because people will come to the show and they're like, thank God you're saying all the things we feel about marriage, but nobody says. And some of them are like, don't you think it's a little harsh? And I'm like, no, no, no. Go back and look at any male comedian. They've been saying this shit for years. I'm finally just saying it from my perspective. And it's
Yeah.
true, you know? It's
Yeah.
true.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You always wanted to be a performer from the
Yeah.
time you were a small child. So,
Yeah.
okay, so take me back to where it started.
Okay. Well, I was not great at mathematics, academics, period. So,
Mhm.
no, I always knew I was in the theater arts growing up. And then I did stand up for the first time. I was 16. I was at my junior senior prom, and I roasted the senior class, and it was a surprise. And I did like a 20-minute roast of the senior class. And it went so well. And I remember getting off the stage being like, I just crushed. And I thought to myself, I'm like, if I could do this at the most awkward, pivotal moment in your life where you're like, in front of your peers. I mean, it's high school. There's nothing more unsettling than performing in front of people in high school. And I got that first big laugh, and I was like, oh God, I'm addicted. I got the bug, fully addicted. Like, this is it. So then I went and did theater arts in college, and then moved to New York after college and was doing improv and stand up, and bounced to LA. And then I had this big, pivotal turning moment in my life when my dad passed. So I'm 4 years into LA performing. And my mom was like, can you come home for a little bit, help me figure out my new normal? My sister was in Atlanta. So I was like, I'm going to come home. I mean, we just had this like life altering moment, losing my dad so quickly. And I thought my
1 week.
career's over. 1 week, crazy. And I was like, this is it. My career's over. I'm back in Atlanta. There's no way, like, what's going to happen? And I started cathartically putting up stuff on Instagram stories. This is when Instagram stories had just come out. And it was really me, like on a Xanax on a Tuesday, completely unhinged at Costco. And everyone thought it was super funny. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, and my comedy had changed a bit. It was richer. It's because I'd had like a deeper human experience, not to like philosophize the whole thing. And then it took off from there. And so I do think there was like, God gave me a blessing. Like, listen, you've had this loss, but I'm going to turn it into I'm going to give you a chance now. I don't know.
I think that you were so raw that any defenses you had up prior to losing him like
Yeah.
disappeared. So like
Yeah.
that full talent emerged without any of that editing that we do to like protect ourselves from something. You're like, I'm already broken. So here I
That's a good
am. Get
point.
at me.
Here I am. I'm raw. Like, it's just
Yeah.
the salt in the wound. Let's go. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, now I kind of don't give a fuck. I'm like,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
This is my human experience, and we're all going through it. And I try and remind myself too, when I'm doing comedy, to like, obviously I'm my harshest critic. I'm the most critical, but I'm like, my sole singular job is for when you come to a show to take you out of your bullshit. I'm not here to teach you some new like political theory. I am here to get you for an hour and a half for you to forget your bullshit at home. That's my job. And if you
Yeah.
leave having laughed, having felt something, feel like you're filled with a little bit more joy than what you came in with, then I've done my job. Like, let's not make it more larger than it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You're very smart too, though. So, and I feel like maybe you didn't do well academically. Like maybe you had a learning disability that was never diagnosed.
Oh, the ADHD is off the
Okay,
charts.
me too. I have it too. It's kindred spirits.
But
Yeah.
that's why we're good at what we do, because I can
Yeah.
ping pong 55 different
Right.
thoughts a day.
Of course you can, because
Yeah,
it's like a hyper focused on the things that we can do really well.
right.
And then the things like math, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, that's why you get a business manager, an attorney, or somebody else to look through the fine print.
A child. That's why you have to have a child.
Yes,
Hopefully the child gets a math gene. I have
yes.
one with a math gene and one without. And the one without, she and I laugh whenever there are gaps and holes in her knowledge base of
Yeah.
any sort. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, you're just like mommy.
Well, it's funny, we always see that we're turning into our parents. And my mom now, who's like the most artistic, creative person, but literally I'm living with her, right? So my husband and I moved back home with my mom. We're like,
Best.
it's like everybody loves Raymond, straight
It's
up.
the
But with Joan
best.
Rivers, that is my life
Yes.
right now.
Oh.
And I say that my mom and I are like Melissa and Joan Rivers, but we're really technically both Joan. We're both stars. So
I love that.
I see my mom and I'm like, oh, this is where it comes from. Yeah, like bouncing
Yeah.
off the walls. I'm like, it makes sense now.
This is the greatest gift to you that you're living with your mom. I gotta say, like for her, there's
Yeah.
nothing better. I promise. Like as a mother, I wish my children would live with me. They won't
Yeah.
for a good long while. But oh, I love that.
It's crazy. And there are times where when everyone's like, oh, when are you gonna have a kid? Like, obviously we're trying, but it's like, I have a toddler. And I'm married
Yeah.
to a toddler. So it's like, I
Also,
have
tell them to
to
shut the fuck
fuck
up.
up.
Like,
I
you
know.
get to share what you want to share. And it's really
Yeah.
generous of you that you've talked about freezing eggs, freezing embryos, and
Yeah.
going through this process. But, like, shut the fuck up. Like, just because you shared that doesn't open the door to everybody to be like, and so did it happen? Are you
Right.
pregnant? When's the baby coming? Are you doing it? Are you going to? Like, fuck you.
The most annoying DM I get is when I'm with my friends' kids, and obviously, if I put them on Instagram or something, and the first thing people say is, "A baby would look good on you." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, it would." But
Ew.
do you know my ovarian reserve right now? No, you don't, bitch.
Ew.
So back up. Yeah,
Ew.
ew,
Ew. Not
ew.
okay.
Yeah, it
Not
is.
okay.
It's brazen, and like people are very emboldened, like what they say to people on Instagram. And of course the joke is always on me. So I've never really had mean DMs, but it is wild. Once I really expanded to like the next level of followers, the shit that will get like kind of marked, like when Instagram tries to filter stuff for you for like hateful speech. And then like
Mm.
I'll have a couple glasses of wine on a Wednesday and just go through some of them. And I'm like,
Unhide it.
yeah. And I'm like, who are these people? Who
Yeah.
sends somebody a DM that's like, I don't, your eyes are wonky, or you know what I mean? Like, you need to refresh your Botox. It's like, fuck off. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It is
Crazy.
great. Yeah, I only get things like, do you ever have a meal with your husband? You're disordered. Can you
Yeah.
smile? Why are you sad all the time?
You're
Can
like,
you be
listen, bitches,
happy?
I like cottage cheese. Lay off
Yeah,
me.
like leave me alone.
Yeah.
How do you know where my fucking husband is? He doesn't want to be on camera. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, doesn't mean I'm not eating with him if he's not on the fucking video. Like, shut up.
Oh,
People
people
are,
will come up with
yeah.
crazy shit. They're like, I haven't seen your friend, Mary in a minute. Are you guys good? I'm like, she has 3 kids. I'm like, I just saw her, but I didn't put it on the internet. You crazy bitches. Like,
Oh
what?
my God.
They'll come up with
Jeez.
anything. They're like, oh,
Oh,
yeah, it's just, I realize that some people have too much time on their hands. And at the end of the day, have to remind myself, like, that's pretty funny. And if that's the worst it gets, that somebody's telling me I need a refresher on my Botox,
that's right.
and
Yeah.
that I'm like,
Yeah.
we're going to be okay. We're going to be
But you're
okay.
beautiful and your
You're so
Botox
sweet.
looks great. There's
Thank you.
no, I don't see any lines. I really enjoy full paralysis. I
Me
actually am
too.
due. I know some people want it to look natural and have movement. That's not me.
I have to have a little bit of movement for comedy because I can't get out there and
Yes.
deliver jokes and just like the
Right.
eyebrows are
You
frozen.
cannot. Right. You can't have lockjaw either. Right.
Jenny, this is going to be the cuntiest thing I've ever said, but it's so funny. Like, I love some of my girlfriends who are like, they're on the all natural train. You do you. But if you ask me to go to lunch with you and I got to stare at the forehead the whole time, and they're like, I tried a new laser. I'm like, bitch, the laser didn't work. Okay. We need the botulism in
100%.
the L7s or whatever they are in the front, the
A
11s.
hundred, 100%. There's no shame in that. It's
Mhm.
exactly, first of all, how could you even think that there's a way to age gracefully in our society without
Exactly.
any of that stuff when there's no even playing field. Like there's no basis for it anymore. And yes,
Right.
obviously, grow old naturally if that's what you want, and gracefully. It's beautiful. I look at Sophia Loren; she was magnificent. Yes,
Stunning.
for sure. But that doesn't. I don't look good like that. I just look old and craggly.
Same, same. Yeah.
I
And
can't. I wouldn't look good gray.
the funny thing is, my joke forever was thick neck, thin ankle. And so I went to my guy, Dr. Nelson Castillo, who does my Botox, and he
Yeah,
was like, Heather, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's not really fat. I think it's just loose skin under the neck. And I was like, wait,
I'm
what?
crying.
Yeah. I was like, so hold on. It's not just like baby fat under there. He's like, no, it's just you're aging and I think it's loose skin. And I was like, God damn it. I need a neck lift before 40. What are we doing?
You do
Yeah.
not. You look great. Definitely don't need a neck lift. And I have tons of doctors, and they will tell you what you can and cannot do. I'm very afraid of that facial work because I think it changes
Same.
your face, and I don't. I don't want to do that. Like the older I get, the more funny looking I get, but I look
Mhm.
like me, so I don't want to all of a sudden like
Yeah.
I don't know,
I
pull
think
too
where people
hard.
go wrong, it's like do
Yeah.
the Botox again, do whatever makes you happy. The
Yes.
fillers that scare me. And there are
Oh, well,
people
people
that,
look like corpses.
yeah, and it's just everyone looks really swollen, like they've been sucking
Yeah.
on salt cubes, and
Yeah.
it's so filled, and the lips are the first thing I notice on somebody. I
Yeah.
can spot lip filler 2 miles away,
Oh, yeah.
and
And
you're like,
now
what's
they're
going
doing,
on?
Yeah, they're doing the lip filler with the lip flip. So they put Botox at the top of the lip to flip it. So like I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Do you see? And then they fill it. So they fill it and they flip it. So then you have this a
You just
whole
have a
other
lot of
look.
gums. You have a lot of
I
gums
think you have a lemon.
exposed.
I would have so many gums. I was talking, my friend's a dermatologist and we
Mm,
walk a lot and we were talking about the lip flip. And I'm like, Sari, I don't think I'm a candidate because you would do it. I have such giant bonded
mhm.
teeth from when I was 27 that if you flipped my lip,
Yeah.
I'd be all gum.
I'm right there with you. I'd look like a Make-A-Wish situation.
See,
Like
I
this.
wouldn't look good. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. Right.
Yeah. I just
Mm-mm.
overdraw my lips. People always think I had my lips. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that is the one thing. I've always had big, juicy
You have
lips.
beautiful lips, right?
But
You're a
when I
beautiful girl.
smile, I lose the
Yeah.
top lip. So
Everyone does. We all
everyone
do.
does. Yeah.
It's so hard. It is so
So
hard.
hard.
I was really surprised when you were talking about frozen yogurt and fat-free
Yeah.
frozen yogurt with carob
Yeah.
chips because we are like almost 20 years apart. And because I'm old. And so, but I used to do the fat-free yogurt with the carob chip. I
Yeah.
thought by your age they were past the carob chip, but I guess not.
No, so I got into the carrot chip because I was one of the original first people in the beginning of like my mom was the organic lady before organic was a thing. So
Okay.
we used to go down to this health food store and she would get the carrot chips. I was a kid with a stinky lunch. Like my mom grew up in
Mm,
Boston in a half Italian, half Syrian neighborhood. So I always
mm,
had like some sort of caponata and then I'd have like a baba ganoush in my in my
mm-hmm,
thing. So my mom
mm-hmm.
would go down to the international market and get like all this organic stuff way before anybody else is doing it. So I've been a carob chip kid forever.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah. So no, for me, it was like in New York, they had a place, Tasty Delight. And
I
my,
love Tasty Delight. Yes,
right. So like
yes,
in the 90s, when you were an infant, I would have like a giant Tasty Delight with tons and tons of carob chips
yeah,
and call it lunch. It was just empty
yeah,
calories, but it was like the diet food. And
yeah.
it's so silly. Might as well have just had ice cream.
I love it though. Then when people, if you did grow up in like a diet culture, like I was a chubby kid, I have done
Yeah, me
every single
too.
thing. I have tried every
Please.
crash diet. I have
Yeah,
literally done it all. And
it's
then
my
when you
life.
when people go back and they like try and shame you for that, you're like, no, 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 no. Go back to that traumatizing year of fourth grade, okay? And then we'll
Yeah.
talk.
I
I don't want to
know.
hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Well, everyone is really disordered. They want to call
Yeah,
everyone else disordered, but like everybody is disordered in some way when it
yeah.
comes to food and body as women. So, like, at some point, embrace it and let everybody do whatever they want. It's like this judging of
Yes.
people's bodies has to end. It's
But I also say
enough.
that like on the other side of it, and I talked about this in my first special, is like the body positivity's also gone so far. Like you
Of course it
can't,
has. Well, that's what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, you can't even have a conversation with your friends where like I'm sure somebody's gonna comment on us being like, oh, the Botox. It's like, shut the fuck up. If I want to get Botox, if I want
Getting
to eventually
Botox.
get a breast lift because they're down to my ankles and I haven't even breastfed children, let a
Who
bitch
cares?
live. Who
Well,
cares?
they're mad about everything. They're
Everything.
mad if you diet and they're mad if you don't diet. But right now they're
Yes.
more mad if you diet, though the tide's turning again and now people are back into being skinny. So I don't know. I don't know
I know. I
anymore. I
can't
don't know
keep up.
how intuitive eating is going to survive this current wave of people wanting to be skinny again.
Yeah.
But I've been exhausted by the intuitive eaters because I'm not one and never can be. And usually I'm a let live type person, like let be,
Mhm.
let live. But I think there's so much hypocrisy. And I just really know that a lot of these very, very, very skinny girls telling me to eat ice cream are not eating ice cream.
So after my dad died, I got set up with the intuitive eater, right? And I was like, this is the,
No.
yes, no, just wait. I did the whole program. And they're like, if you're having a bad day, go get a pizza, but make sure it's the
Oh,
best pizza. And remember, savor each slice. So I took the advice for the first time in my life as somebody who had been a chronic dieter, right? I just started eating pasta and pizza and ice cream. And I remember being like telling my girlfriends, like, guys, this is great. I can eat whatever the fuck I want. And I put on like 20 pounds because I was grieving and I was just wolfing it down. And then they were like, no, so we meant like you have half a slice. And I was like, so it's still portion control. What the fuck are we talking about here? You know what I mean?
that- so basically, you were depressed and fat?
I was depressed and fat. Yeah, bitch.
I'm sorry. No, but this is the thing. It's right. So they leave out this part, like the social media intuitive eating crowd leaves out the part of assess your hunger. There's a scale of
Yeah.
hunger and know between 1 and 5 and eat only till you're satisfied. And what does that look like? And some of us have broken mechanisms that can't
Yeah.
work without limits and boundaries when it comes to
Yeah.
what we eat. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't eat one slice of pizza. When has that satisfied anybody ever?
Yeah, and I usually do about a gallon of ranch with my pizza. So it's, you
That's a
know,
thing I'm reading about. Now, I've not had ranch with pizza.
what are you living in the dark ages?
I
Get on my
guess.
level. But see, I'm from the South, so we put ranch on everything. You know what I mean? If I
Yeah,
was
I
going to go
like
on like
ranch. Yeah.
Survivor or on a stranded island, my one luxury item would be a bottle of ranch.
Could you do that though? Could you do Survivor? Could you do that? Could you like,
No,
okay,
no,
I
let me tell you
couldn't.
what, I was a theater camp kid. Like when people went to outdoors camp, I was at theater camp. So
Yeah.
no, I think I would be good for like morality. Like I would keep everybody positive. Like today's a day we're not going to die. We've got this one more day.
Mm,
But am
mm,
I necessarily resourceful?
mm-hmm.
Do I know how to fish? Those things, no, I don't. And I had a real aha moment. I was stayed in for New Year's Eve. My husband and I watched Top Gun, and I was like, Jeff, we have no skills. I was like, we don't know how to fly an airplane. We don't know how to do a boat, drive a boat. I don't know how to like bake bread. I was like, I got to learn some like survival skills this year. God forbid it all goes to hell in a handbasket, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So did you?
So I did, but one day I was on a full spiral on TikTok, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I was just like, we're going to war with China. So I decided
What?
to just wait. I was losing my mind. So I said, okay, I'm going to get a bunch of stuff to prep, like not as in like we're building a bunker, but maybe we should just have some food and water. But I was lazy about it. So I did an Instacart and I prepped a bunch of shit from Costco on Instacart because I didn't have time to go to the store. So my husband calls me and I'm like getting my nails done. He goes, Heather, there's some guy unloading all this shit outside of a garage from a truck. Did you order shit? I was like, oh yeah, I got some like a 2 year supply of dog food, cat food, tuna for us, peanut butter, waters. And he was like, so you're prepping from the nail salon because you were too lazy to go to Costco? I was like, yeah, sure did. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you had priorities. You needed good nails. You can't have bad nails.
Exactly. And people say like if the nuclear bomb goes off, let me be the first to go. If you think I'm sitting in the woods, shitting in a bucket, eating MREs, I'm not. That's not my journey. I don't think it's your journey either, you
Yeah,
know?
you're Taya Leone in Sudden Impact.
I'm literally standing at the edge of the ocean, just letting that wave hit me. Of
Come
course.
get me, take
Yeah.
me in.
Take me
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that inbred Frenchie of yours?
The best. The best. I've got two inbred ones. They're the greatest gift in the world.
Yeah.
Um,
The
that was
best.
so funny. I made a
Yeah.
joke about, the rescues, and these people
It
went
went at
off.
you.
They went crazy. And little do people know, I've rescued 25 cats. I have been a part of so many
Yeah.
rescue agencies, but I got this.
Obviously, you're an animal lover. Come on.
These people are insane. And this
Yeah.
one woman who owns this very big cosmetic brand commented, and she was like, you're a disgusting human being. And I was like, hey, just so you know, I sent her DM. I go, you've been sending me mailers of your products that I've been promoting for years. You didn't get the joke. I was like, clearly you don't understand that I have rescued a million animals. This is how crazy the internet is. You see that. And I was like, I got you. I got you in that clickbait. I got you for 10 seconds being like, oh, you have a rescue. That was it. And then I got you. I was like, you just answered everything that I have said about people on the internet.
It's like vegans. It's the same kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
because
No, you're vegetarian, aren't you?
I am, and I was
Yeah.
vegan at different points. But like,
Yeah.
if I want to have turkey, I'll have turkey. I've become more flexitarian because
Yeah.
my body at this age demands some animal protein and it's
Yeah.
primal. And I don't know what to do about. Like, I have to eat protein. How much
Yeah.
dairy can I eat? It's like at
Yeah.
some point I have to get over it a little bit. So I try. I
Yeah.
hate it, but I do it because I know I have to listen to my body. But I mean, I posted like chicken meatballs once and they were like, you have to put the flesh on the internet. And I'm like,
This is where I say, look, like look at how we survived as humans for the dawn of
yeah,
time. Back in the
yeah.
day, you were trying to hide in the cave and make sure you weren't mauled and defaced by a wildebeest. Like
Yeah.
we're like everybody, we got to get back to our primal roots. We're gonna be
Right.
okay.
Yeah. Well, now the wildebeest are the freaking humans. That's
I
the problem.
know.
It's like we're doing it
Yeah.
to each other. But wait,
Yeah.
back to your Frenchies.
Uh-huh.
I love that story. And I loved the joke on that. That was back to that Netflix special
Yeah.
with Jane Fonda, two unknown women, Jane Fonda and Lily
Yeah.
Tomlin, like introducing you. I was plotting for you.
Yeah.
But that whole bit is so exactly right. Like this whole rescue thing, I mean, look, I know it does make me a good person that I have four rescues, but I
Yeah.
had a dog before who was from a breeder. She was a show dog reject. She lived 16 and a half years.
Mhm.
My standard poodle Hazel. I miss her all the time. But like, and then I rescued after that because that's just how it worked out. But if I saw a dog with a breeder, a responsible breeder, and wanted that dog, I'd end up with that dog. Like, why are we so
Well, and the whole book
nasty?
started off because my husband and I have been trying to rescue Frenchies for years, any in the
Yeah.
bulldog breed. And once you get rejected, and then you see the dark side of some of these like specific, rescue agencies, and and then I started to realize that a lot of these people just hoard the dogs. I mean, we could not have been better candidates. And then like if specifically if you're trying to rescue a Frenchie, like, do you have stairs in your home? Not a good candidate. And you're like, who doesn't have stairs in their home? Who doesn't live in a condo? Like, I'm like,
Right.
I have a fenced in backyard. We've got
Sure.
7,000 square feet, beautiful space. They're like, where is the dog going to sleep? And so on one of my like applications, I'm like, well, as long as it's consensual, the dog can sleep in between us on a pillow. But if the dog would prefer to sleep on the floor in their own bed, absolutely. And my husband's like, you're cuckoo. Because I was trying so hard for somebody to like allow us to rescue one of these dogs. And after the 10th time I was rejected for the most trivial shit, I was like, fuck that. Find the one we want. Let's go. Like,
Yeah. And Frenchies, how did you deal with the breathing? It can be so hard. You have to really love those dogs and know how to care for them, which I know you do.
yeah. Well, also, I kind of figured that I was getting rescues because I've always gotten the last of the litter. It's always because we got
The
another one,
runt.
macaroni.
Yeah.
Oh, like we got a phone call from a vet in Mississippi that was like, I got this random litter. Do you want one? It's the last one. We
Mm.
were like, we'll take it. So, no, I just love them. They have personalities. They're kind of like me. They have a burst of energy at 3 o'clock. They do like 3 minutes of zoomies and then they're, laying on the ground farting. And that's just, I
So
identify as
cute.
that.
They are so cute. There's
Yeah.
that those Frenchies, those faces, and they're
Yeah.
so human like. And you're right, they do screech and howl.
They're
And
ridiculous.
yeah, they're
When
like
I meet
human sounding.
when I meet people with golden retrievers that are like calm and America's dog, and these dogs could like, are great with kids. I'm like, what's that like? What's that
It's a
like?
whole different kind of thing, a dog. My
Hmm.
dogs are like babies. They're these four little rescues, but they're like half poodle, two are half poodle. No,
Yeah.
one's all poodle, one's half poodle. The other are both half Havanese, and they're all demanding and all. I mean, I love that we are crazy for them. They take up our whole bed, and then we have to like crawl over to
Of
get
course.
to anywhere.
Yep.
And no joke, I hold in having to pee in the morning because if it's after a certain time, then it'll wake the little fuckers.
Yeah.
And then we have to get out of bed if it's 5 in the morning. I
Yeah.
mean, my whole life is around those assholes, but they're not like, you're right, like a golden, just
Yeah.
like runs around, then you take it out, and then you come inside, and then you get on with your day.
Yeah. And then you like put an American flag bandana around its neck and it
All you
just
got to
sits
do.
there,
Yeah.
and it has and does tricks. And you're like,
Yeah.
that's not, I've got
I
a
don't have that.
I don't have that. I have a 22-year-old rescue cat named Delta that I rescued from Mississippi. And
Mm,
she just, like she's fighting with the Frenchies and everybody's having the time of their life. And I'm like, my house is chaos and I wouldn't want it any other way,
I love that. And your mommy is there.
Yeah, she's there. You want
I
to
just,
get this? I go back and I co-host a Today Show often, and like, what a crazy thing that I can say that. But they're like, "Hey, come and do the Mother's Day edition." They're like, "Bring your mom." And so I asked my mom the other day, I "Go, Mom, the Today Show wants you to come on when I'm hosting." And she goes, "Oh, I got my annual physical that day. I don't know if I can make it to New York." I was like, "Mom, call and reschedule your physical.
100%.
You're gonna
Yes.
be fine." And she's like, "All right, I'll think about it." I'm like, "Jesus, help us
Did
in
you tape it
Caitlin."
yet? Did you tape it yet?
It's in a couple of weeks. But I'm
Okay.
just
Is it
like,
with Hoda? Is it with Hoda?
Hoda and Jenna. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Let me
pop
tell
in
you
with them.
something. That Hoda copy is one of the loveliest, finest humans there
Oh,
ever was. Hmm.
Hoda one day. So I'll go on like, sometimes I'll do it with Hoda and then sometimes I'll do it with Jenna when one's out. Jenna's a blast because she's like, let's go get a drink after this. Like we giggle. And Hoda is so professional and so kind. And she told me, she's like, I have the best job in television. If I ever retire, like you could do this. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
She's,
They're just
wow.
the greatest.
Yeah.
They really are the
Yeah.
greatest.
She happens to be like a stand up good human. She just,
Yeah.
and everyone loves Jenna. And I'm sure, I don't know
Yeah.
Jenna like I know Hoda. Like I know Hoda. And she
Yeah.
is just as lovely as you think she is on TV.
Yeah.
She's more lovely than that. She's exactly like you've met everybody, Heather, at this point.
Yeah.
So, like, there's some people on TV that they're one way on the TV and then off the TV, they're another way.
Yeah.
She's exactly who you think she is.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, because I worked at a gym in West Hollywood. I worked at a Soul Cycle in West Hollywood, so I always get asked, like, I dealt with Beyonce, Madonna,
What
like
did you do there? And
I
what
was just
year?
I was the front desk. I think
When?
I was there 2013 to 20 into 2015.
You were
And
you mean right in WeHo, right across from Equinox?
oh yeah, and I was there for like the prime when it was like the prime celebrity
I
spot.
was definitely went in and
I
signed in with you
guarantee,
at the desk. A
yes, I
hundred
guarantee you
percent.
did. But you if you go to that West Hollywood Soul Cycle, it is like the creme de la creme for
It
A-list
is.
celebrities.
It's the Busy Phillips land
Yes,
of plenty.
yes, and that is I have waited on every single A-lister, B-lister, D-lister you can imagine, and I have a arsenal. I have in the back of my brain. I'm like, oh,
I'm
I know
sure.
who's the worst, you know?
That is so good.
Yeah. And I'll just tell you this, Beyonce smells so good, it's
I'm
overwhelming.
sure. I'm
Like
sure.
I was
I
like, how
mean,
does I don't
yeah.
know what it's coming from the inside. It was like a inside out glowing, you know?
So when like Angela became
Yeah,
like Oprah's go-to,
yeah,
what was that like? Because I mean, this is so inside baseball.
yeah,
I only know because anytime I would go to LA, I would go to that Soul Cycle because it was
right,
near where I would stay, and because I'm a New Yorker.
right.
And Angela was this teacher. I'm forgetting her last name, first
Emmanuel
name.
Davis. Yes.
Right. Uh-huh. And everyone was like, you must take her class. You must take her class. And I did. She's outrageous, amazing. Then all of a sudden, 5 years later, I see she's on every Oprah stage.
Yeah. So she basically started this because going to these soul cycle classes, Angela really brought like a spiritual element to it. Then you
Yeah.
have to realize, like, I know these people outside of this, like,
Of course
you
you
know,
do.
perfect womb. And Angela's actually a lovely person. So I can't ever say anything ill about
Of
her. She's
course.
fantastic, so
Yes.
kind. But it was wild. We're like, one day, we're hoping that we can fill classes. And the next day, Oprah and Beyonce and Madonna show up. And you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did always sit in those classes, any of the Soul Cycle. I mean, not just there. And I'd be doing like, the push-ups, the
Yeah.
the straight arm and the out arm, whatever you would call it.
Yeah.
And hearing them tell me to like, get my intention and all this. And I'm just like, I don't have any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm empty inside.
I only cried in a soul cycle class once, I think, because I was hungover and I was like, am I gonna make it? But there are days where, when the
Oh,
soul of
cool.
soul cycle, I'm like, I
Yeah.
also like kiki with these people in the back office, and we're all like
Yeah.
wolfing down Chipotle before we go
Of
take a class.
course.
So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like, it was really wild to see people put these instructors on these pedestals, and then
Yeah.
some of them would get stalkers, and it was
Oh,
crazy. It was
yeah.
like, what is happening? This is exercise,
Yeah. I think
you
that's
know?
why I like Peloton, because I know Peloton Jen,
Yeah.
and because she went to college with my sister. So like I
Uh-huh.
know her kind of. And so we always laugh because I see it happen to her
Yeah.
where she has this like crazy follow. I'm so happy for her because she's a great girl, but she is the girl on the bike that she is off the bike. It's again that thing. She doesn't like put on some
Right.
all of a sudden she's like, let's get deep and heady. She's like, nah, let's listen to Bruce and rock out. Like she's
Yeah.
not pretending.
And when I would work out, everyone would say, like, would you take Angela's class? I'm like, no, I could never get in. And two, I want to feel like I am about to join a gang. Like
Yeah.
I want to hear like intense music. I
Yeah.
want I only do well with negative reinforcement. Like I'm a boot camp kind of girl. With like, you're a piece of shit. You can't keep up with the pack. Like anybody who's like, reach inside of yourself, turn it up a notch. Be the you today you want to be tomorrow. I'm like, I don't relate to that. You know what I mean? I need somebody to be like, you're fighting for your life, you know?
All right, before I let you go, I got to
Yeah.
go through. I found this wiki celeb thing
Oh,
about you,
great.
and it made me cry last night. It
Okay.
actually, I couldn't. I started reading it because I knew it wasn't going to be legit, and I
Yeah.
wanted to go over with you these things about you that are said on the internet, and just
Okay.
just how it's written. So you're fundamentally known for being an actress and a comedian. So is that true?
I would say fundamentally, yes.
Okay. You also are winning much love from your viewers right now because of your live stand-up comedy tour, which you did during the pandemic.
Yes, did a lot of shows from home, but now that
Okay.
I'm back on the road in theaters, I would say I'm winning much love. Yes.
Okay. I just want it because all of us want to win that kind of love. So,
Uh-huh.
you know, um, so the stand-up comedian, were you born in March? Is that true?
That is true. I'm a Pisces.
Okay, that's what I heard. And they say your parents' names here too. You shared your childhood along with, let me make this clear, your bold and courageous sister, Ashley. Is Ashley bold and courageous?
After the shark attack, she really took a turn and just became even more bold and courageous than she was. Yes.
I don't even understand. Where did they get this? Why are they calling your sister bold?
I don't know. And then they say that my dad is Robin and my mom is Kyle. I'm like, that's
Yes.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I read. Okay,
Uh-huh.
let me tell you that this actress has true qualities like creativeness,
Mm.
generosity, and empathy. Those are your true qualities. I want to know what your false qualities are.
My false qualities are what are my false qualities? Just probably confidence. Not having acid reflux and being able to fit in my jeans most days.
Okay, now I'm going to bring this down a minute, and I'm not
Okay.
making light of your dad's death. And
Yes.
you know that I'm not because I have two dead parents. So I
Yeah.
understand the grief and the severity of the situation.
Yes.
This is titled Family Tragedy, and it's a picture of you in a wedding gown. I don't know if it was your communion or
Yeah.
a party,
That was me. Honestly,
pageant.
yes, that was me as a probably what 5-year-old child dressing up in a wedding dress.
Okay.
Just yeah, and then it says family tragedy. That
Well,
is
like your John Benet
horrific.
Ramsey, right? But let me just take it a step further. So this is the
Okay.
family tragedy.
Okay.
In the year 2015, her dad died at the age of 57 as he was detected with the fourth stage of pancreatic cancer. Okay, it's not funny. We
Yeah.
are not laughing. We've both experienced losing loved ones to pancreatic cancer.
Uh-huh.
We are not laughing.
Hmm.
This was the first crisis in her life which she faced in her life.
They largest crisis for sure, but I've definitely had people die on me before that.
It was the first crisis in your life. In your life. Wait, here we go. This is it. Wait, I'll let you go
Yeah,
soon.
right.
Body measurements.
What?
Heather McMahan stands tall at the height of 5 feet 7.5 inches and weighs, I'm not
Yeah.
giving the weight, in kilograms, whatever. They give you a kilogram
No, I
weight.
need the weight. What do they say I weigh?
You weigh 65 kilograms. So that's pretty light. I think it's times 2.2. Don't ask.
Okay.
You
I
weigh
would say
approximately, yeah.
that's false. I'm 5'9", 5'11" with heels on, and I'm 205. So they're off. They're way off. They're way off.
Wait. She has an oval face shape with a broad forehead with a sharp and straight nose. I'm not done. She is blessed with blonde hair and fair skin. Her favorite makeup brands are Sephora, Mega Babe, Bare Mineral, NYX, and etc. What are the etc.?
I love a Charlotte Tilbury gloss, if you
There we
will.
go.
There you go.
Uh-huh. McMahon has never been come in the news. So you've never been come in the news
Okay.
because
Good
of
to know.
her because of her romantic relationships with her lover. Last year, she and Jeff Daniels got married to each other. So this is old. This is, a year or two old. Got married to each other in a private ceremony. Their wedding date was the 21st of December of 2020.
Okay. Well, technically, we did get married at a courthouse then, but yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, so they go on to say Jeff Daniels, who is now her husband, was her longtime boyfriend. As per the source, she has several IG posts dating from 2013 along with him.
Yes. We've been together quite some time. Yes.
The grammar of this is spectacular. You have shared this silver screen along with Maiva Asari, Frank Brantley, Karen Clancy, Brian Day, Amy Dora, Winston A. Marshall, Hedward Woodward, and etc.
Who?
Uh-huh. There you go. I don't know. I told
Okay.
you. I told you I wasn't making sense of this. I was just
Yeah.
sharing it. Don't get at me, Heather, for not having all the info.
Also, I'm so excited. They said I had a broad forehead and an oval face. Still, I'm going
Yeah.
to carry that
And a,
with me in my heart. And
and a
sharp
straight,
nose.
straight nose. Yeah.
I would
I
say
mean,
more of a wider button nose, but to each their own.
beautiful that you have a beautiful nose that only a daughter of Christ could have. If we're being honest, because this little bird beak is not ever going to be right. But I like my beak. Let's see. Wait, this already happened. Love Hard happened. And then they talk a little about your podcast. But is that not spectacular?
Because I had to, somebody brought that to my attention recently, and they're like, "Do you know that there's this wiki? It's not even Wikipedia. I don't know what it is.
No, Wiki Celeb.
Wiki Celeb, which is written, I think, the translation of. I don't know who took the time either, because I don't really consider myself a celeb. But that is just, stay humble. 5'7", 65 kilograms. I'm putting
Yeah.
that on my Instagram profile immediately.
It absolutely should be part of your bio. You really are magnificent. And I'm so happy that you're getting the jobs that you want and that you're buying real estate
You're so
and
sweet.
that you're doing everything that's keeping you going because you deserve that kind of success and more. I mean, I hope Good Grief happens because I love Dan Levy and I
Yeah.
think you in that kind of project would be really cool. But in the meantime, people can go to heatherontour.com
Yeah.
and they can buy tickets.
Buy tickets. Got the big show before the summer starts, June 17th at Radio City. And then I'm going to be
Hmm.
announcing new tour dates for the fall. We've already figured out where we're going to shoot the next special. So
Hmm.
we're going to be announcing that. So it's just going to be great. I'm hitting, Chicago, LA, going back to Atlanta, doing all the, I'm just doing the most. So I'm going to take a little time off this summer after Radio City, write a couple
Good.
scripts, and then
Yeah.
get back on the road.
And then the Absolutely Not podcast is so good,
Yeah.
you guys. You will laugh out loud. Like you just like I couldn't like laughed out. Like you can't help it.
You're
It's
so
that
sweet.
good,
Well, listen, I
but it's
adore
true.
you. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you reached out to me about that ass machine because my ass was getting so flat there for a second. So I'm
Good.
working on it. It's
As
perking
long
back
as
up.
yeah, you need a perk up because without a perky ass, do you really have value?
No, I mean, they could add that to my wiki celeb page. 65 kilograms, 5'7", perky ass. That's all
I
I
love
want.
it. Let's do it. Let's get that done. Maybe you could edit it yourself. Follow
Yeah.
Heather on social media at
Yeah.
Heather McMahan. And
Yeah.
thank you for being on my podcast. I'm at Just Jenny Hutt on Instagram, at Jenny Hutt on TikTok and Twitter. And you can email any questions or comments to justjennypod@gmail.com. And I'll be back here per usual tomorrow. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Let
This
me
is
stop the
great.
recording. No, you're
Yes.
great.